आए तेरे दरबार जी चोली भर दे हो खाली सारी उमरा तेरी तांग विच रोवांगी तांग विच रोवांगी झूठी है सेज सच्ची सेज ते सोवांगी सेज उते सोवांगी सारी उमर तेरी तांग विच रोवांगी तांग विच रोवांगी झूठी है सेज सच्ची सेज ते सोवांगी सेज ते सोवांगी दासी कहे किरपाल जी दीन दयाल जी झूठा जग है सारा सच्चा रिश्ता है
Okay, my dear souls, should I say you that I love you? Should I say? You should feel. It's not something that we have to express with some words. This thing is something which you cannot express. It is only subject of heart. Heart to heart it works. It is a very pure, holy subject. And let it be remaining holy at its own status. But when we look at each other, there is something going on.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's satsang. So today's ghazal is by Sumit ji. Title is वो पैकर ए बहार ठहरे है जिधर से वो गुजर गए by Darshan ji Maharaj. Meaning, in whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. Then Michael will give the introduction. After that, Shalina ji will read us an essay. Title is Opening Up the Heart and Understanding What Love Is. Then we'll have a short dhyan session of 5 minutes. Later we'll play master's video and then we'll do group meditation with love and devotion. Thank you so much for the seva. We'll start with the ghazal now. I'll read the translation as well of the ghazal. Okay. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. The autumn-stricken paths suddenly bloomed and blossomed. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. This is not the matter of the sense, but only becoming oblivious to oneself. As the beauty of the beloved's eye caught the light of mine, it became even more ravishing and irresistible. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. I was spared the benevolence of the highway robber. On the path I have travelled, his work was done by my guide. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. There was neither intoxication in the winter nor fragrance in the evening. The garden of my heart is sad, for when he stops, the caravan of spring also stops. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. I was so lost in the glimpse of the beloved, I was not aware. I heard he passed closely by many times. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. Darshan's voice had grown weak, filled with grief. The coming of the beloved has showered flowers in the silence of his heart. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. Thank you so much. Now we'll start the Shabbat.
Dear brothers and sisters, this ghazal is written by Sandarshan Singh Ji Maharaj. I will translate this ghazal in English. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. The autumn stickens, path suddenly bloomed and blossomed. Whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. This is not a matter of the senses, but one of the becoming oblivious to oneself. For I replied with an answer quite unrelated to the questions he asked. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. As the beauty of the beloved's eyes caught the light of mine, it became even more ravishing and irresistible. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. I was spared the benevolence of the highway robber. On the path I have travelled, his work was done by my guide. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. There was neither intoxication in the winter nor fragrance in the evening. The garden of my heart is sad, for when he stops, the karma of the springs also stops. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. I was so lost in the glimpse of the beloved, I was not aware. I hear he passed closely by many a times. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. Darshan's voice had grown weak, filled with grief. The coming of the beloved has showered flowers in the silence of his heart. In whatever direction the beloved turns, there is only spring. The autumn stricken paths suddenly bloomed and blossomed. So now I will sing this ghazal. वो पैकरे बाहर थे जिधर से वो गुजर गए वो पैकरे बाहर थे जिधर से वो गुजर गए खजान नसीब रास्ते भी सज गए संवर गए सज गए संवर गए वो पैकरे बाहर थे ये बात होश की नहीं ये रंग बेखुदी का है, ये बात होश की नहीं। ये रंग बेखुदी का है, मैं कुछ जवाब दे गया, वो कुछ सवाल कर गए। मैं कुछ जवाब दे गया, वो कुछ सवाल कर गए। वो पैकरे बाहर थे, जिधर से वो गुजर गए। वो पैकरे बाहर थे। मेरी नजर का ज़ौक़ भी शरीके हुस्न हो गया। मेरी नजर का ज़ौक़ भी शरीके हुस्न हो गया। वो और भी संवर गए, वो और भी निखर गए। वो और भी संवर गए, वो और भी निखर गए। वो पैकरे बाहर थे, जिधर से वो गुजर गए। वो पैकरे बाहर थे। मेरे जनों से तो बचा रहे हयात में, मगर मेरे जनों से तो बचा रहे हयात में, मगर जो काम रह जनों का था, वो राहबर ही कर गए। जो काम रह जनों का था, वो राहबर ही कर गए। वो पैकरे बाहर थे, जिधर से वो गुजर गए। वो पैकरे बाहर थे। ना जामे मुल ना शामे गुल, चमन उदास उदास है। ना जामे मुल ना शामे गुल, चमन उदास उदास है। वो क्या रुके कि काफिले बाहर के ठहर गए। वो क्या रुके कि काफिले बाहर के ठहर गए। वो पैकरे बाहर थे, जिधर से वो गुजर गए। वो पैकरे बाहर थे। हमें तो शौक़े जुस्तजू में होश ही नहीं रहा। हमें तो शौक़े जुस्तजू में होश ही नहीं रहा। सुना है वो तो बारहा करीब से गुजर गए। सुना है वो तो बारहा करीब से गुजर गए। वो पैकरे बाहर थे, जिधर से वो गुजर गए। वो पैकरे बाहर थे। नवाए दर्शने हजी बहुत नहीफ थी, मगर नवाए दर्शने हजी बहुत नहीफ थी, मगर फ़ज़ाए दिल की खामोशी में फूल से बिखर गए, फ़ज़ाए दिल की खामोशी में फूल से बिखर गए। वो पैकरे बहार थे जिधर से वो गुजर गए, वो पैकरे बहार थे जिधर से वो गुजर गए। खज़ां नसीब रास्ते भी सज गए, संवर गए, सज गए, संवर गए। वो पैकरे बहार थे, वो पैकरे बहार थे, वो पैकरे बहार थे। थैंक यू।
Good morning, everyone, my dear brothers and sisters, my holy family of love, of Master, and of God. Good morning. Sumit, your voice is so godly. I loved it. I was just relaxing on your voice and just connecting with Master. So beautiful. Thank you so much for your great seva that you do for the daily satsang. We appreciate you. Thank you, Sumit, sister. And my dear holy family, we gather here together every day to get engulfed with the fire of love. From head to toe, we wish to be engulfed and consumed with that holy fire, the holy fire of God, the holy fire of the kingdom of God, the holy fire of Master. We wish to be annihilated in that fire, and from head to toe to become immersed in the nectar of the Lord, in the love of the Lord, and in the grace of the Lord. That the kingdom of God cometh not by observation, it is within you, Christ said, that kingdom of God is within us. And we gather here to hear the words of truth, then go find the words of truth within us. As 1 ounce of practice is worth tons of theory. And we gather here, we hear the truth, and then we go inside and we touch the truth with our soul. We drink the truth. We drink the water of life and the manna of life that springs from within us. As Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you. It is at hand. Have it. That the kingdom of God is at hand and we can enjoy it. All what we have to do is go within. And this simple thing of going within and finding God, finding the kingdom of God, and finding our highest self as God. Know thyself as soul and know thyself as God. Very few people in the world know it. People are advanced in technology, advanced in the sciences, advanced in all sciences, in history, in physics, in mathematics, and everything. Yet, the most important thing that the saints, the gist of all what the saints and masters have taught, that the kingdom of God is within you, and it's just a small step within us. It is just, we have to just invert within and find it and enjoy it. The whole 99.999% of the population don't get that message. Even when they read the message, they don't get it. Even when they hear it, they don't get it. As this world, hearing we hear, but we do not understand. Seeing we see, but we do not perceive. That the truth is spoken, but no one understands it. Why? Because we live in the world that is opposite of truth. We, the initiates of the perfect master, are going against the current of this world. That's why we have to face that current. and not be swept with the current. To face the current is to be brave. To face the current of this world, to be brave, to be like the lotus, that is the lotus flower that is above the water and does not get drowned in the water. It stays up up above the water. The same thing, we, the initiates of the perfect master, in this world of negativity, we have to stay unblemished by the soot that is being thrown on us by the negative world, that we have to become like the lotus flower. As Kabir said in the Shabd in this morning, he said that the humble servant of the Lord is like water. The humble servant of the Lord is like water. He washes all. He washes all. And what is our highest seva for the master? What is our highest seva for the master? The reputation of the master rests on his disciple. That on his disciples, that his glory rests on his disciples. So our highest seva is to become like the master. Our highest seva is to resemble Master in this world. Our highest seva is to shed his light on this world of darkness, to give his water of life on the starving world, on the starving world that needs to be quenched. All this world is suffering, as life without God, life without Master is pure suffering. It's an ups and downs. One day there is joy, and the next day there is crying. This is how life is without the master. So this world needs us. And what does it need? What does master want? He wants us to become his body. He wants to walk on our feet. He wants to look at this world from our eyes, and he wants to touch from our hands. So it is our highest seva, our highest priority is to clean our soul, to clean our soul and make this temple of God worthy of God to live in it. That God will not live in a place that is dirty, in a place that is full of soot. First, it has to be clean. So our highest seva is to offer ourselves to Master and make his hands clean us from within, and let him reside in us fully. Let him reside in us fully. Life will become full of joy when Master gets more and more and more entrenched in us. That the more Master grows in us, the more we grow in Master actually, is the more that life becomes joyous, life becomes livable, and we can become carefree, full of peace, perpetual enjoyment, and perfection should be our life. That we can become carefree and give all the burdens of the ups and downs to Master. Make that deal with Master just like our Master, Ishwar Puri Ji, gave the deal to his Master. And afterwards, when he stuck with the words of the deal, then his life became very free as he gave all the worries, all the burdens to his Master. And he lived a life of being carefree, without worries, without problems, and just being perpetual happiness. Perpetual happiness was his life. And he wants that on all of us. He wants us to become perpetually happy. And how do we become perpetually happy? We have to imbibe his words. We have to live by his commandments. And day and night, our goal should be perfection. Our goal should be purity. And our goal should be holiness. Holiness should be our life. Holiness should be our life. And then at some point, our soul is going to get immersed in the oversoul, in Master's soul, in the Shabd, and we will walk this world and carry his torch. Carry his torch. Be like the sun. The sun does not announce itself that it is coming, but the sun sheds its light every day on all humanity. The same thing, the flower does not announce its coming, yet the flower just blossoms. And that is our life. Our life is to just blossom, blossom in Master, blossom in Master, and give that give that fragrance and that beauty to the whole world. As he, the one who sees his inner Master, the one who gets the drishti of his inner Master on daily basis, the one, his all his evils flee away. All his evils flee away, as Kabir says, the ones who has the drishti of the perfect Master within him, who sleeps in his dreams there is Master, in his meditation there is Master, and in his outer life there is Master. That person, his forehead shines with the glory of God, and wherever he goes, that person, he brings God to the people. He brings God, he brings love, and like Kabir said, he becomes like water and washes all. So Kabir taught what Kabir in his teaching taught. He taught that all these godly qualities, they don't come, they don't come to us by, they don't come to us by austerities, by severe austerities, or by suppression. They are just come to us by sublimation. That is natural. Sublimation is a natural sequel to the bliss from within. That once we start to experience the spiritual bliss from within, then all our lower desires will be sublimated. They will not be suppressed, they will be sublimated. That means something else from within will come towards us. Some more joy, some more happiness, something that cannot be described in the words of this world will come to us from within, will make us, will make all these lower desires go away by the way of sublimation. So let me read to you some poetry of Saint Kabir, beautiful poetry of Saint Kabir. Okay, let's see. The beggar goes a begging, but I could not even catch sight of him. Not even catch sight of him. And what shall I beg of the beggar? He gives without me asking. Kabir says, I am his own. Now let that befall which may befall. Another poem. My heart cries aloud for the house of my lover. The open road and the shelter of a roof are all one to her who has lost the city of her husband. My heart finds no joy in anything. My mind and my body are distraught. His palace has a million gates, but there is a vast ocean between it and me. How shall I cross it, O friend? For endless is the outstretching of the path. How wondrously this lyre is wrought. Lyre is an instrument like a harp. How wonderful, how wondrously this lyre is wrought. When its strings are rightly strung, it maddens the heart. But when the keys are broken and the strings are loosened, none regard it more. I tell my parents with laughter that I must go to my Lord in the morning. They are angry, for they do not want me to go, and they say, she thinks she has gained such dominion over her husband that she can have whatsoever she wishes, and therefore she is impatient to go to him. Dear friend, lift my veil lightly now, for this is the night of love. Kabir says, listen to me, my heart is eager to meet my lover. I lie sleepless upon my bed. Remember me remember me early in the morning. Wow, that is so beautiful. Another poem. Serve your God who has come into this temple of life. Do not act the part of a madman, for night is thickening fast. He has awaited me for countless ages. For love of me, he has lost his heart. Yet I do not know the bliss that was so near to me. For my love was not yet awake, but now my lover has made known to me the meaning of the note that struck my ear. Now my good fortune has come. Kabir says, behold, how great is my good fortune. I have received the unending caress of my beloved. Wow. We are so fortunate. Oh, listen to the deep voice of the roaring, of their roaring. The rain comes from the east with its monotonous murmur. Take care of the fences and boundaries of your field, lest the rain overflow them. Prepare the soil of deliverance. Wow. Prepare the soil of deliverance. And let the creepers of love and renunciation be soaked in this shower. It is the prudent farmer who will bring his harvest home. He shall fill both his vessels and feed both the wise men and the saints. Beautiful. This day is dear to me above all other days. This day is dear to me above all other days, for today the beloved Lord is a guest in my house. My chamber and my courtyard are beautiful with his presence. My longings sing his name, and they become lost in his great beauty. I wash his feet, and I look upon his face, and I lay before him as an offering my body, my mind, and all that I have. What a day of gladness is that day in which my beloved, who is my treasure, comes to my house. All evils fly from my heart when I see my Lord. My love has touched him. My heart is longing for the name which is truth. Thus sings Kabir, the servant of all servants. Kabir, the servant of all servants. That's how the perfect masters are. They are just humility, humility, and humility. So Kabir is saying how happy he is that the Lord appeared in his house, which is the temple of this body, which is the temple. This human body is the temple of the Lord. And Kabir sees the Lord within him, and how happy and smiling is his face. Okay, let's see. Is there any wise man who will listen to that Solomon music which arises in the sky? For he, the source of all music, makes all vessels full and rests in fullness himself. Wow! He makes all vessels full and rests in fullness himself. God is abundant. He who is in the body is ever athirst, for he pursues that which is in part, but ever there well forth, deeper and deeper the sound. He is this, he is fusing love and renunciation into one. Kabir says, "O brother, that is the primal word." That's the poem. Okay, one more poem. To whom shall I go to learn about my beloved? Kabir says, as you never may find the forest if you ignore the tree, so he may never be found in abstractions. All right. Um, I welcome my dear sister Shalina, and thank you, Master, for the seva and for the poems of Kabir. And I will play our sister Shalina. I'm looking forward for her reading. She reads very, very beautifully.
Thank you to the Daily Satsang Committee for giving me the opportunity to perform seva for you and my master. The following is an excerpt or an essay from the rssb.org, and it's about opening up the heart and understanding what love is. These lines are probably familiar to most of us. The master often bases his satsang on a poem in which Tulsi Sahib urges us to empty our hearts of desires and attachments. This includes our bad habits, everything that we are carrying from the past, our expectations and worries for the future. We've almost hung a no vacancy sign on our hearts, but we need to empty ourselves in order to welcome the presence of the Lord, our Master. We need to create that vacancy. And just as we truly want to welcome the Lord into our hearts, He longs to be seated there even more. The Master is just waiting for us to knock, to turn our mind towards Him. Huzur Maharaji once commented that the Lord is the one who pulls us to love Him. Then someone asked Huzur, Maharaji, it seems clear that the lover needs the beloved, but does the beloved have any need of the lover? And Huzur answered, yes, but who gives that love to the lover? It is the beloved who gives love to the lover. The lover thinks that he loves the beloved, but the pull in the lover's heart comes from the beloved, always. It gives the feeling to the lover that he is in love with the beloved. Actually, it is the beloved who has put that pull in the lover's heart. The beloved must be needing that love. So he needs our love as much as we need his love. It is a circle of love and we are within it. He is waiting for us patiently to welcome him into our hearts. He needs to love us as much as we long for his love. So let us prepare ourselves to receive him. And how can we do this? We have to follow his teachings. We have to live a life of Sant way of life that controls our minds through meditation. And in this way, we will rid our hearts of anything that drags us down, that pollutes us or corrupts us. This is how we will make room for him to be seated there. If we are so full of ourselves, where is there room for him? We know that if our home is dirty and full of junk, with old newspapers piled high and dirty dishes in the sink, we would be embarrassed to have our friends or family visit us until we clean up. Wouldn't we want to prepare our hearts and minds at least that much so our beloved, the Lord himself, would be comfortable there? Huzur Maharaji spoke about how we can live in the divine presence all the time by training our mind to obey the Master, living the Sant way of life, attending satsang, and doing seva. He always emphasized that service with body and mind are the best ways to channel the mind towards the ultimate service, meditation. Selfless service will allow us to live with an awareness of the one with whom we wish to emulate, and it will keep our minds focused on him and not scattered in the world. Huzur once said, of course, the best service is bhajan, meditation, but there are also other services which are a strong means to lead towards bhajan. It's a way to train the mind to live in the will of the Father, and in that way, that is also a service. We have to face situations at every step of this life, and at every step of life, we have to explain to our mind to accept whatever comes in our fate smilingly, cheerfully. It's a constant training of the mind. This is also doing service because that will help us in meditation. Now, if we are feeling perturbed by every little thing, then how can we concentrate? How can we meditate? If we make every little thing an issue the size of the Himalayas, how can we concentrate? So we have to forget, we have to forgive, we have to train our mind to take things easily, lightly, to laugh them away, to ignore them. This is all training the mind. So Huzur is telling us that by living a balanced way, by taking things lightly, by going through life happily, accepting what comes to us as our destiny, the result of our karmas that we have created in the past, this in itself is training our minds. And this training of our mind is the very first step in controlling our mind. Very often the master will give us practical advice and hints on how to overcome our weaknesses and live in accord with his teachings. He tells us not to focus on the negative, but to simply dilute it with the positive. It's like diluting red dye in a glass of water. The more water you add, the more the dye will be diluted until eventually the water becomes pure and transparent. So we need to dwell on what positive actions we can take and not mull over our failings, not ruminate over everything that happens to us. We need to dilute the negative with the positive. We have to take positive steps towards the master at every moment. This exercise does that. Maharaji often reassures us that everything that we do to achieve our goal is not a waste. It is a step forward. And in examples, he says, when a child is born, ultimately he starts walking and running. And every step that he takes right from birth is a step forward. He learns to sit, he learns to stand, and he learns to lean. Ultimately, he carries his own weight on his legs, and then he starts walking, and then he falls so many times as well. Even a fall is a step forward for him, and then ultimately he achieves his goal of running. So the whole process is to his credit. Similarly, when we are trying to go back to the Father, all that we do to achieve that is an end to our credit. It's not a waste. Every step we take is a step forward. We just need to take those steps. We have nothing to worry about, and he is there to help us and catch us if we fall. He says that we just need to have a positive attitude. Attend your meditation and live the Sant way of life. Take a positive step. Huzur says, why not prepare yourself to face the present and face the future by meditation? So our meditation actually protects us. It will create a protective barrier against the distractions of the world. It cleanses our heart of all of that negativity that collects there. Huzur speaks about why regularity in meditation is so important. Now, if you're tied to a strong chain, you can only move it within a limited area. So if we are tied to our meditation every day, no matter how much we're involved in other things, we will always remain within that circle. Now, if that chain is broken, then of course you are absolutely gone. You're involved. So the chain of meditation should not be broken. Meditation must be attended to every day. And then no matter how much you involve yourself in other activities, you'll never be allowed to go astray at all. You'll never be allowed to get so involved that you forget your real path because your chain is very strong. So what we mean by involved is that you become too involved in material activities. But by meditating every single day, you become uninvolved and then you don't forget your real path because that chain that you've created is strong. Our life is like a fast-flowing river, and we are trying to swim against the current towards the opposite shore. So if we don't put in the effort to control the mind and swim upstream, we will be dragged downstream away from our destination, perhaps over violent waterfalls to the rocks below and certain death. It's a matter of life and death for us to control our minds. We don't know what awaits us in life, so we have to be prepared for any and all eventualities by having our minds focused on the Master and the Lord. I'm going to tell you a true story from a Jewish master that illustrates this. A man was traveling in a horse-drawn carriage with his master. The road led down a steep hill and the horses became very frightened. They ran for all that they were worth and could not be reined in. The disciple looked out of the carriage and shuddered, and when he glanced at the master, much to his surprise, he saw the master's face remain calm and composed. And then he asks his master, "How is it that you're not afraid of the danger we are in?" The master replied, "Whoever is aware of the real danger at every instant is not terrified by any danger of the moment." The main message of the story is that we are actually always facing danger. We don't know when death will come, so we need to remember God at all times. But on a deeper level of meaning, the story uses the metaphor of horses running out of control for our mind, which is always running frightened and wild. There is danger at every moment, at all moments, when our mind is uncontrolled. Indeed, even the worldly disciples, an uncontrolled mind means the dissipation of energy and an indulgence of destructive behavior. Now, this kind of mind never helps us. Here's another story. Once a disciple complained to his master, "Master, I can understand why I'm responsible for my actions and even for my words. That is within my power. But my thoughts? How can I be punished for my thoughts when they enter my mind out of their own accord? Can a person control his mind?" His master listened quietly and responded. He said, "Just go visit Rav Zev, my devoted disciple who lives in a remote village in the mountains. Only he can answer your question." So the disciple made the trip in the dead of winter, and after traveling for 2 weeks along the snowbound roads, he finally reached Zev's village late at night. He could see a light shining in the window of Zev's study. Zev himself was studying the holy books. So the traveler knocked and continued knocking, but there was no response. He was completely ignored. He pounded the door, but Zev, only just a few steps away, continued his study, oblivious to his cries, and the traveler was very cold. It was almost morning when Zev rose from his seat, opened the door, and warmly greeted his visitor. He sat him by the fire, prepared a hot glass of tea, and asked after the health of their master. He then led the guest, still speechless with cold and disbelief, to the best room in the house to rest his exhausted body. For several days, Zev attended to all his needs, and the visitor was a model guest, never mentioning his terrible experience on the night of his arrival. But after about a week, the traveler felt it was time to go home, and just before leaving, he posed this burning question: "Why? Why should I be responsible for my thoughts when I have no control over my mind?" Zev replied, "Tell me, my friend, is a man any less a master of his own self than he is of his own home? You see, I gave you my answer on the very night you arrived. In my home, I'm the boss. Whoever I wish to admit, I allow in when I'm ready. Whomever I do not wish to admit, I do not permit to enter." So we need to ask ourselves, are we the boss of our mind? Or do we let any thought or desire enter freely at any time? Don't we take the steps to protect our homes from robbers and thieves? We don't just give entry to just anyone. So why aren't we as firm or strong with our mind? When we sit in meditation, how hard do we really try to control our thoughts and keep our attention in Simran, directing it towards our master? The master says we should be like soldier saints. But do we just lay down our arms and surrender to whatever thoughts come knocking at our door? This story illustrates that we can indeed be the boss of our minds if we choose to. We need to be proactive. We cannot blame outside conditions for the lack of mental discipline. It's a struggle, but we can't give up. Huzur once used the same metaphor, saying that we need to assert ourselves as master of our own house and bind the strong man, the mind, which is preventing us from accessing the treasure of Nam that lies within. He says, Christ has referred to the mind as a strong man, meaning something within us which is very powerful. And he also has told us how to bind the strong man. Then you are the master of that house. That house is the body, and that strong man, the mind, is within the body. So if we want to get the treasure of Nam, the treasure of the Lord, from the body, we have to bind the strong man, which is the mind. And you can bind the strong man only by meditation. Unless the mind is bound, we cannot get the treasure that the Lord has already kept within this body. Huzur's main point here is that at the time of meditation, we have to be strong. We should not allow anything to interfere. When the mind drifts away, we should keep bringing it back to Simran. Never give up. This is a positive step. And Marji often says, instead of cursing the darkness, we should light a candle. And it's not as if we're alone on this journey. The Master has made it very clear that if we take one step towards him, he'll take 100 steps towards us. True, we need to take that one step, but he's already there to help us. Huzur emphasizes that when we take that step, his grace will take us the rest of the way. He said, you must take that one step. We are more anxiously waiting for his 100 steps rather than taking our own one step. So we are tied down with the attachments of this creation that becomes difficult for us to take even that one step. We're so engrossed in this creation, so attached to this creation, over the roots that have gone so deep into this creation that it is not so easy to uproot them. So even our one step is a great step. And without his grace, we can never get out of this creation. So our one step is sufficient to pull us. The Master gives us so much motivation and encouragement. He's doing everything he can to help us along the way. When we try to follow the path, he gives us the strength to follow the path. He strengthens our faith. He strengthens our love with the help of meditation. And by following that path, he is truly the one that's pulling us from within. We sometimes think that we worship him or that we are already in love with him. Actually, he is in love with us. But for that, we would never be in love with him at all. So let us celebrate his love for us and our love for him. One could say that binding our faith in the Master is the path, and the path is a process. At first, we have immediate faith in the Master, that the path that he is showing us is true. So we respond to the pull that he has placed within us. But we still have to satisfy our intellect so that we can follow our path consistently without getting waylaid by doubts and overanalysis. It is natural to have doubts, but if we persist with our meditation, we will get the faith and the confidence to continue on the path. Meditation will give us the love that we yearn to be filled with. Of course, it is because we have faith in our physical Master that we have come on the path in the first place. So do make that effort to stay on course. It is this faith in the Master that will encourage and inspire us to do our meditation and eventually raise our consciousness to such a level that we can see him in his true form as Shabd. We can look forward to this time when we will find the Lord, and only the Lord seated in our hearts will become available to us. On a practical, everyday level, we have to live our lives with maturity. That's spiritual maturity, as Babaji calls it. Maturity means that despite all obstacles and challenges, we will sustain our beliefs and continue with our meditation. We will adhere to our values and focused lifestyle. Our faith will allow us to accept the events of our life. At each stage, there are different hurdles to overcome: career, marriage, parenting, children, and then dealing with illness, old age, eventually facing death. We can meet these challenges through that faith that comes from continuing on the path and attending to our meditation. All the saints have told us the same thing. If you do meditation punctually every day, the evil tendencies of your mind will be quelled. If you control the monster of the mind using the proper technique, you will be attuned to the melody of Shabd. Carry this practice daily without a break. Attend the Master's satsang. Keep his company. Your attachment in the world will disappear and you will begin to enjoy inner communion. Every moment that you will enjoy will be the nectar of the Shabd and live forever in the Lord's palace. Put your faith in the Lord's will, not in your labor, not in your effort. Submit yourself to your Master. One day he will fulfill your heart's desire. The Master has given us so much encouragement, so many props to help us in this drama of life. Think of what is going on now in the world. Although in-person satsangs have been suspended in most countries due to COVID-19, he has given us so many other means of support. The Master may not be physically available to us most of the time, but still, he reaches us through online satsangs. The question and answer sessions with Babaji of Dera, which are being translated into more than a dozen languages, is an unforeseen boon, as are the Shabds being beautifully sung by fellow satsangis. We can count our blessings that our own very Master, Ishwarji, left us with over 500 YouTube videos to go back to. These satsangs have such a wealth and a powerhouse of satsangs and information and instructions that we can always reference back to. The daily satsang, which holds daily satsangs for us to manage our meditation through association. We must try and make our effort to come to these satsangs as faithfully. One of the Master's greatest gifts is seva. Perhaps during the period that there is not much opportunity for institutional seva carried out in satsang centers, but we absolutely can certainly reach out to help one another, whomever we might encounter. Acting with kindness and compassion sustains our quality of life, and it helps us absorb the quality of humility that the Master embodies. So just think that if we are feeling a lacking in love, we just need to take the first step to access his love. We need to persevere in our efforts, have faith, be positive, be steadfast on the path, and keep the company of the saints and satsangis. To love is nothing but giving thanks. It is all his grace that he gives us in his love. He gives us his devotion, and our words are so inadequate to express that feeling and that depth, that gratefulness to our Father. So please let us respond to his pull and cleanse our hearts. Let us make the effort to still our minds so our beloved can manifest within, and let us maintain our faith in him and his great generosity and live a life that is happy, a life that is grateful of his love. Thank you, Master.
Thank you, Master, for Shalina. That was a really, I have no words to thank you for this wisdom talk, for this beautiful, wonderful talk. I enjoyed every word of it, and I'm gonna probably listen to it again. It was so good. And I love that story about not letting the thoughts come in your mind, that story of the saint who locked his door. I loved it. I've never heard that story. It's such a great story. Thank you, Shalina, sister. So now we can do 5 minutes of meditation and prepare ourselves for our Holy Father, Ishwar Puriji.
very happy you are here with me to join me on the Bandara of my master, great master Hazur Maharaj Baba Sawan Singh Ji, who not only transformed my life, transformed the lives of so many people. I watched the transformation of lives going on. That one man by his presence can do so much. It's amazing. But this was not so unique. If you look back in history, you will notice several examples of this kind. In my mind comes the example of Jalaluddin Rumi, Maulana Room, and his poetry translated into English is now popular even all over the world, including the United States. He was a priest, a Maulvi. Maulana as a Maulvi of a mosque, masjid. And he used to wear a long robes and walk with great stately style, like any Maulvi should. And he had a great grace about his walk. Then one day, a dervish named Shams Tabriz came from Tabriz. And he had a short cloak. He was wearing a short jacket. And he danced round and round. And the jacket was flowing like this. Maulana Room went to hear his talk in the evening. When he heard his talk, next morning he was rotating himself like this, revolving around, just like Shams Tabriz. The whole village was surprised. What has happened? How has he turned so crazy? He was such a good priest, such a good Maulvi of that masjid. It did not take more than one evening to transform the Maulana into a disciple of Shams Tabriz and change his life completely. And his best poetry we read today came after that. These kind of things I have heard happen before. These have happened so many times. What is the relationship that is created by these examples? We have a very unique relationship between a disciple and a master. It is based upon pure love, unconditional love, with no judgment whatsoever. It's hard to believe that this exists in this world, that you can find a human being like ourselves who can be so loving that if you love him, he loves you. If you hate him, he loves you. If you kill him, he loves you. There is nothing that will stop the love of a perfect living master for a disciple. It's so unconditional. There's a very strange example that I'm giving you. Great master showed that. And I can never tell you fully what impact it has on me and all the others who associated with him. Just sitting in his presence made so much difference to us. How does that happen? And we wanted to somehow please our master. We wanted the happiness of the master. We wanted that he should not get displeased on anything. Why are we so suddenly changed and interested in a human being who may be just a friend or an enlightened person or somebody who knows more? These things don't happen just with this extra knowledge, but it does happen. I'll tell you the example of another well-known saint in India, Sai Bulle Shah. Bulle Shah wrote Punjabi poetry, and in that he would describe how we are so misled about where to find the truth that we run to mandir and masjid and girja, go to the temples outside and completely forget the temple is inside us. The real temple is we are carrying on our heads all the time. He criticizes those who keep on reading scriptures. And he says they have been reading everything, but they haven't read themselves. They should go inside. And when he happened to meet his Murshid-e-Kamil, perfect living master, Anayatullah Shah, He was so happy. He tried to please Inayatullah in every way. One day, there was a wedding in Bulle Shah's family. So they invited the master, Inayatullah, to come and join the wedding. Unfortunately, Inayatullah was very busy, so he sent one of his servants, his attendants, that you go and represent me. But when you go there, tell them that I, Inayatullah, could not come and you are there in my place. The servant went to attend the wedding, but when they saw that Inayatullah has not come, but just sent a servant, they said, well, the servant is a servant, and they put him with the other servants and not with the honored guests at all. When the wedding was over, this attendant came back, and Inayatullah asked him, how was the wedding? He said, it was good. Did they give you the honor they would have given me? No, they did. They couldn't have done that. I am not you, I am an attendant. And they put me with the other attendants, with the servants who were placed separately from the honored guests. He said, they should not have done that. This displeased Inayatullah. He said, this should not happen like that. The attendant conveyed this to Bulle Shah. Bulle Shah said, my family made a big mistake. I want to apologize. He tried to come and apologize, and the master did not give him even the time to see him. And he cried and he cried, Master, forgive me. And he could not forget that this is displeasing my master. This would never happen, although he was not responsible. Only partly responsible. He could have told the people, this attendant represents my master. But the master did not see him. Some of the most poignant, the best poetry of Bulle Shah is written in that period, when he could not see his master. Then one day there was a wedding in the master's house. And they arranged some dancing girls to come to entertain the guests, which was normal in those days in weddings, to have entertainment by dancing girls coming and singing. When Bulle Shah found out, he dressed himself like a woman and joined the dancing girls. And Inayatullah was watching, and he saw the dancing girls dancing very well, and there's one woman who's not dancing the way. So he called Bulle Shah. He said, are you Bulle Shah? He said, no, I am Bulla Shah. I am the one who made the mistake. So Inayatullah hugged him and forgave him. He says, Bulle Shah says, the secret of pleasing the master is to dance in front of him. The Sufis have been following that tradition. And they say that the dancing is an expression of your love and devotion. You are willing to do anything to please the master. These are great examples of what relationship we can create with a master. It's not an ordinary relationship of a teacher and a student at all. It's the truest form of a love affair that I can think of. So that is why these are amazing stories. I could tell you so many other stories of great master, how his disciples were so affected by him. I'll tell you the story of one of my good friends, Dr. Ishwar Singh. He was a veterinary doctor, animal doctor, and he lived in Kapurthala, a princely town about 20 miles away from the Dera where Great Master was doing his work. This was very early on, and the Great Master had just been appointed as a master by his master, Baba Jamal Singh. And Ishwar Singh was very keen on finding a perfect master. Every holy person who came, every Swami who came, Every yogi who came, he would discuss things with him, but he never felt fully satisfied. He tried so many methods of yoga. It didn't satisfy him. In his neighborhood lived a few Muslim disciples of Great Master. Some of the earliest disciples of Great Master were Muslims, though he belonged to the Sikh faith. Because it has to be understood, the spiritual path is not religion at all. It's open to all religions equally. It's open to all human beings who are seeking the truth. The first few Muslim disciples of Great Master were neighbors of Dr. Ishwar Singh. And in talking to them, he said, I am looking for something. They said, there is a Murshid-e Kamil, a perfect living master, living just a few miles, 20 miles away from here. There is a river flowing called the Beas River, and he has a small little hut. His master had only small hut with 2 rooms in it, and the master has passed away, and Baba Sawan Singh has now taken over. He is a perfect master. He is our master. You go and get initiated from him. You will get the real thing. So he said, okay, I'll go and find out. He took his bicycle. He used to travel a lot on bicycle. He took his bicycle and checked out where the river Beas is and went along the Beas River. He was told that the master's dera, or the place where he lives, is about 3 miles downstream. So he was going in the evening after his work, and 3 miles passed, 6 miles passed, 9 miles passed, there was no dera, nobody was there. It got very dark. So when he reached a place where there was a bridge over the river, not a bridge, actually ferry bridge. A ferry used to run and carry people, because there was one village on the other side of the river which was only accessible through ferry. So he met the ferryman. He said, I have been looking for a dera of one Baba Sawan Singh and I can't see it anywhere. He said, you are on the wrong side of the river. The dera is on the other side. It's only 3 miles downstream. He says, can you take me across so that I'll now go up along the river and go and find the dera? The ferryman said, there is no pathway. There is no road. It's all forest. It's all dense forest. So you can't even take your bike there. He said, doesn't matter. I'll carry my bike on my head, but I have to go and see this man. My neighbors told me he's a perfect master. I've never seen a perfect master. Ultimately, he persuaded the ferryman to ferry him across the river. And the ferryman took him, and Ishwar Singh could not find a pathway, trying to keep close to the river, carrying his bicycle on his head. He trudged along, sometimes losing his way, sometimes getting close to the river. Early morning, he reached where he found the 2 huts, which was where Baba Sawan Singh was living. As it happened, Baba Sawan Singh also had an attendant, a lady whose name was Bibi Rukko. Bibi was just a short for addressing a lady. So Bibi Rukko had worked and served Baba Jaimal Singh. Not only that, she was an initiate of Seth Shivdayal Singh Swamiji of Agra, who was also the master of Baba Jaimal Singh. So she was a very veteran satsangi. She had been with 3 masters, Swamiji, Baba Jaimal Singh, and Baba Sawan Singh. So when he knocked at the door, this Bibi opened the door and says, what the hell are you doing at this early hour of the morning? He said, I have come to see Baba Sawan Singh. And she used the most abusive language and got so angry with him that this is the time early morning to disturb a master? Go away. He thought to himself, I have heard this Bibi has been with 3 masters. If she can't control her anger, what will I get from this master? He is not a master. He found out this cannot be a line of masters at all. Because the woman who has been with 3 masters for so long can't lose her give up her anger and loses temper so easily. This could not be a master at all. So he went back. In the morning he told his neighbors, you were wrong. Baba Sawan Singh is not a master. I saw that Bibi and she was so angry, and you told me she has been with 3 masters. If 3 masters could not change even a simple thing like her anger, how can these be masters? And they laughed at him. And he said, did you go to see the Bibi or did you go to see the master? He said, went to see the master. They said, but you never saw the master. He played a trick on you. Instead of seeing you, he was testing you. He put the Bibi in front of you to see what your seeking is like. You are not a good seeker. You came away empty-handed because you never went to where you wanted to go. He said, does master play tricks like this also? Oh, this is a very mischievous master. He can play any kind of games. They said, he is a human being with a great sense of humor. And all the perfect living masters have a great sense of humor. And we can't even understand how they can have such a great sense of humor. But when we go within our own self, we discover if you look upon this created world like a show, you will have the same sense of humor. They are able to see the world in a very different way. He said, I'll go again now. Now I know where the dera is, where master lives. So next time I'll go, I know where I have to go. And he found out that Baba Sawan Singh was not living there all the time. He was working in the military engineering service at a far-off distant place, and he would only come on weekends. And he would give a discourse on Saturday evening at 5 o'clock and go back to work on Sunday. It's a long journey he had to take. So most of the people attended his discourse only on Saturday evening. So he told one of his clients, his customers, who owned land there, that you are the landowner of that place, and there is a hut next to your land on the river, and can you come along, we'll go and see this master there. The landowner, the chief, said, sorry, I am not going to go there. He said, why not? He said, I hear there's a white-bearded man who comes there, and whoever goes there never comes back. I am not going to take that risk. He said, come on, chief, we just have to go and see him. We can see him from a distance. Come on, take your horse out and we'll go. Chief said, I'll go with you to my land, but I will not go and see this man. They said, doesn't matter. So they both took their horses and went to the chief's land, and at the edge of the land was that hut. When they reached there, the chief said, stand at a distance. I don't want to go near that man. So they got off from their horses and stood in front and saw a great master giving a discourse. About 20 people were sitting in front of him. And he had a book in his hand. And he would recite something, some verses from the book. Then he would put the book down and explain what he has just read. Interpret what he was reading. They saw that. When great master left the book once and saw those 2 people standing there, he beckoned to them, come here, like this with the hand. So the chief said, he's calling you. He said, no, he doesn't even know me, he knows you. He's calling you. He said, not me. They said, let us separate and see who is calling. The chief went on one side, and Ishwar Singh went on the other side, and Great Master looked both sides, and he looked towards Ishwar Singh and called him. So Ishwar Singh went there and sat at the back. Great Master picked up the book and saw Ishwar Singh sitting at the back, put the book down, said, "Come and sit in front." So Ishwar Singh got up and sat right in front of Great Master. And Great Master began to continue his discourse from the book. As Ishwar Singh heard that discourse for the first time, tears came into his eyes. He said, "This is the whole thing I was looking for. He is a master, but he doesn't have the knowledge. The whole knowledge is the book he's holding in his hand. That's where he's getting all the knowledge from." When the discourse was over, he got up. "Master, I have a little request for you." Great Master said, "Yes, what is it?" "Can you give that book to me which you have in your hand?" Great Master said, "No, I'm sorry, I can't give this book." Ishwar Singh said, "I have 75 rupees in my pocket," which was a lot of money in those days. "Can I give you 75 rupees if you can give me that book?" He said, "Even if you gave me 1,000,000 rupees, I will not give you the book." He got convinced. This is the whole secret of his teaching. He has a secret book containing all the knowledge. He said, "Master, can you give me the book for 1 week? Next week when you come back, I'll give it back to you." He said, "No, several times during the week I have to read the book." "Master, will you give me the book for tonight? I'll read it outside your hut and give it back to you in the morning." Great Master said, "I'm sorry, I sometimes get up in the middle of the night to read the book." He said, "What kind of master are you? So greedy about the book of knowledge that you have?" He said, "Yes, the book is very important for me." Ishwar Singh went disappointed and told his neighbors that he has a book in his hand, and I saw the title of the book, and he wants to give me for 1,000,000 rupees. He said, "What was the title of the book?" He said, "Sar Bachan." The book's title was Sar Bachan, the true words. True words. He said, "That's what I realized is Sar Bachan." They laughed. They said, "The Sar Bachan book is available for 2 rupees in the market." There's nothing special about it. Great Master again played a trick on you. Now, Ishwar Singh told me that had he given the book to me, I would never have gone back to him. I was so convinced that the whole secret lay in the book. And he played really a big game with me by not giving me the book. He said, "Now I'll go again." He goes again to Great Master. And this time he's going in the evening after work on a Saturday. Great Master finished his discourse sitting on a chair. And he says, "Master, I know what you did to me. I have now heard your satsangs from my friends who live next to me. They are your disciples. I know the important thing is to get naam from you, initiation from you. Please give me naam, give me initiation." Great Master said, "Have you broken your arm?" He said, "Is that a requirement for getting initiation?" He said, "No." Great Master said, "Not a requirement. It just so happens that in your destiny, the time for initiation will come when you have broken your arm and healed it. You come back after your arm is broken and it is healed, I'll initiate you." He said, "Master, this is something very strange I never heard. Why would I break my arm?" He said, "Don't you ride horses? You can fall from a horse." He said, "I have been riding horses all my life. I never fell from horses." He said, "Sometime one can fall also." And disappointed again, Ishwar Singh went back to his house And when he reached his house, his wife, whose name was Maya, she said, "Where have you been all day?" "The prince, the ruler of Kapurthala state, has been calling you all day." And I kept on saying, "I don't know where he is, where he is. Run to the palace. He's calling you." Ishwar Singh said, "Maybe some animal of his, some elephant, some camel, some horse has gone sick. Therefore he's calling me." When he went there, the prince was sitting on his throne and said, "Where have you been?" He said, "I went to see one Maharaj Ji," because he used to call great master Maharaj Ji. And the king said, "There is no Maharaj Ji, I am the Maharaj. Tell me, why did you delay your coming? I had something special for you." He said, "Yes, what can I do for you?" He said, "Only this morning, 2 new horses, Arabian steeds, have come. And I have told my courtiers, everybody, I will only inaugurate and ride on these when Ishwar Singh comes. We'll both ride together. So I am waiting since morning for you. Now bring the horses and we'll both ride. And that will be the inauguration of our new 2 horses from Arabia." Ishwar Singh said, "Excuse me, I will not ride that horse." He said, "What has happened to you? Every day you ride." "No, that sage told me if I fall from a horse, I'll break my arm." He said, "Are you so stupid to believe these superstitions? Somebody tell you the superstition and you start believing it?" He said, "I don't know the way he said it. There was something about it. Please forgive me. Not today. I don't want to ride this horse." The prince said, "Okay, first saving my face. We'll both get onto the horse. I'll ride away, you can get off." He said, "That I can do." So the prince got on his horse. As soon as Ishwar got on his horse, the horse limped forward. There was a stone in front on which he didn't know the horse was new. He tripped over it, fell. Ishwar Singh fell under the horse, multiple fracture of his right arm. He said, "That saint knows everything." He's teaching me in a very bad way, but still I know he knows things. He had to get a plaster, his shoulder, the whole thing got calcified and he could not even move his arm. Instead of 3 weeks, 6 weeks, it took a longer time to remove the plaster. When it got off, he found his arm and all had calcification, so it was all completely jammed. He went back to Great Master. "Master, I broke my arm and I have healed, I have come back, I have removed the plaster." Great Master said, "Raise your right hand to your ear." He said, "Master, I can't do it." He said, "Sorry, you can't be initiated." "Master, every time you introduce some new condition, when did you make this new condition? You didn't tell me that you have to raise your right arm to your ear to get initiation." Great Master said, "No, I didn't say. I didn't tell you this. I said, when you break your arm and get healed, then come to me. You haven't healed." He says, "Master, how can I heal? This is like stone now. This is calcification, this stone." Great Master said, "When your horse breaks his leg, do you shoot him or you cure him?" He said, "I try to cure him." If a horse has a fracture of the leg, what do you do if they get a calcification? He said, "I use very strong acid, nitric acid, hydrochloric acid. I combine very strong acids and it dissolves, but it's so painful. The horse kicks the ground and makes a hole in it." Great Master said, "Why don't you try it?" He said, "Master, I'll kill myself." No, you can dilute it a little. Go back, dilute it a little, and you'll get all right." Ishwar Singh went, he gave that treatment, he was able to move his hand, he came, got initiated. Imagine what that man had to go through to get initiation. What a great opportunity we have how we got initiated without breaking our arms, without falling from horses. We don't sometimes realize what a big gift we have got without paying any obvious price for it. People have paid big prices to get initiated. Ishwar Singh made good progress in meditation. He fell in love because of these incidents that happened. Not very pleasant, yet they were incidents that were creating more and more love in his heart. Let's try today meditation behind the eyes with love and devotion, where you visualize your beloved and you express your love to the beloved in the best way you can and see the results of it. Please assume that your body is your house and you are sitting on the 6th floor of that house behind the eyes. First, establish yourself in the meditation chamber behind the eyes, then visualize your beloved, then start any kind of meditation you want, including Simran, listening to the sound, or conversation with the Master.